Hey YouTube, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Test, test, test. Today I am going to cover a website that I discovered the other day and that I think is something that is important. And if you are test complete, thanks Joel. Hey, the fish life. I'm going to give you guys a URL. I think this channel has the potential to be game changing for fish keepers. It's a new channel. I think it's only been active for about a month. It's already got a ton. Oh, I'm glad you're back to making videos again, the fish life. I will have to check that out. I really think this channel has something to offer a lot of different people, but I really think it is something that fish keepers really, I mean, it's the next step in raising your game in fish keeping. It's really game changing. When you become an effective microscope user, when you are able to recognize pathogens and parasites and things that are affecting your fish. You know, it's one thing to say, okay, I'm going to get something's wrong with my fish, and I'm going to get a microscope and I'm going to start checking these guys out. And it's something entirely different to be functional at it. And I mean, there's several YouTubers right now that are you know, kind of going through the beginning phases of using microscopes and trying to figure out what's going on. It sounds like it would be easy. It sounds like it's something that you could do pretty quickly. You know, get a couple of books and read the books and recognize what's on the screen or what's in your viewfinder on a microscope. But it's really not the case. It's really the case that it takes years of study to actually begin to recognize what you're seeing in the microscope field, what kind of creatures there are, at what magnification. A lot of the things that affect our fish are not going to be revealed in many different magnifications. It may be till you get to 4,000 or 6,000 times before you can even begin to see the vestiges of different kinds of parasites or pathogens, or sometimes even just the effect of what they leave. You know, you look at liver slides, you look at gill slides, and you don't see the pathogen, you don't see the parasite, but what you see is what they leave behind. You see slides that contain oh, I'm at a loss for even the words. Anyway, Journey to the Microcosm, which is that channel that I've given you a link to, is taking it little bit at a time and showing us what things look like, what you can expect to see when you look in a microscope. Um, the guy that is doing all the actual filming and the work on the video, I think he has fish tanks. I think he's got a lot of fish tanks in his house. I'm not sure exactly what is in his fish tanks. The only thing that I've seen so far in the videos is a short clip of him pulling a snail out of what looks like a tank to me, and there is no clear demarcation as to this tank or that tank or any tank. But he obviously got some of the slides that he used, some of the footage that he used from scraping the outside of a snail shell. And so that gives you a good idea. You know, we talk about green water, we talk about infusoria as fish keepers. In other words, when we create green water in a jar and take a turkey baster and dump that water in close to our fry so that our fry can feed off of the infusoria that is in that water, we don't really have a clear picture of what it is that we are feeding our fry fish, or sometimes even our fish. When we talk about plecos that scrape the sides of the tank, that forage on the algae. In Germany, they call this Opwich, and I may be mispronouncing that, but they call them Opwich feeders. And we don't really have a clear picture of what they're feeding on, so that we can say, oh well, yeah, they're eating microorganisms that grow on the side of the tank, that live near the little algae colonies that develop on the sides of our tanks, and they're basically eating vegetables and not that much protein or meat. And that may be entirely untrue, because they may be feeding off of amoebas and other microscopic life that lives on those patches of algae that infest our tank, that live in the malm that grows in our, that collects in our tanks. And this channel has the opportunity, the potential to show all of that to us and to explain it and give us enough pointers when they're talking about this stuff to actually give us a feeling for what it is we're looking at when we get a microscope and put it on 100x or 200x or 500x or 4000x. And I am hoping, I've asked the channel people already to please help fish keepers, because this is the next step in your ability to raise the bar in your fish keeping. If you are really a fish keeper, if you are someone who studiously tries their best to advance their fish keeping, to get better and better, then this is a tool that you can put in your arsenal that once you become functional with it, that you can really up your game, because you may be able to discern exactly what is going on with your fish. I mean, it's also possible that you will discover things in scrapings and slides and droplets of water that aren't affecting your fish, but that you may think are affecting your fish, and go off on a wrong tangent. But that is why it's so important to not only use a microscope when you have questions that you can't answer, but to begin to understand the whole ecosystem that's going on within your tanks, to understand what fish are really feeding on, what fry really feed on. Um, this is an area that is fraught with pitfalls if you're not functionally adequate with using a microscope. I can promise you, the first time you put a slide under a microscope, you will be utterly and completely lost, because I've been there and I've done that. And my wife and I had a microscope for about 15 years, but we loaned it to someone, and of course it never came back, and we lost track of the person that borrowed it, and so we are without microscope right now. But I am here to tell you that the price of really good microscopes is coming down. You can actually buy an origami microscope, and I mean that when I say it, origami, folding paper, that can be produced for less than $1, that are being disseminated in countries like Africa, and that thing will go up over 200x, which will show you an awful lot. But you can buy that thing for less than $10, and you can literally have a 200x microscope at your disposal for less than $10. And it is possible to get other microscopes that will go up to 1200x that are under $30 or $40. There are all kinds of LED devices now that will do 1200x. There are all kinds of pocket microscopes that will have a USB outlet where it's got like a 3 megapixel camera inside of it, and it will go to like 1200x. It's not necessarily a microscope, but it is a device that you can use to watch on your phone and see things that are very, very, very tiny. All this being said, there are macrobacteria that you need a 4000x microscope to actually see them. There are a lot of different kinds of diseases, a lot of different kinds of things that you could put on a slide if you're doing an autopsy of a fish that has died, that will require staining, or you won't be able to see what it is that you need to see. You may have to choose between 10 or 15 different types of staining procedures and learn those staining procedures before you would really be able to detect what it is that can tell you what's going on with your fish. Eggs that are left in certain organs, gills, liver, stuff that's in the slime coat. All of this stuff can be used to tell what is wrong with a sick fish. Now, the eye test is probably really good for most people, for most generic diseases, pathogens, parasites that you're going to run into in fish keeping. But I'm here to tell you, you are going to run across something that you cannot identify, that is beyond your identification skills by eye, beyond your identification skills by book, beyond your identification skills by people that you know looking at pictures you have taken of the fish. There are things that affect our fish that it's just no seeums. You can't discern even from behaviors, even from how the disease progresses, even from outward exterior appearance. You will not be able, hey Bob, welcome to the stream. You will not be able to tell what is affecting your fish unless you pay a pet vet or someone from some testing company maybe $1,000 to take one of your dead fish and to autopsy it and cut up the different organs and make slides and stained slides of all of those organs until they find something that may or may not have killed your fish. And I'm telling you, you could spend a lot of money and come up with no answer at all. But it's also possible for you to spend a lot less money and set yourself up with the equipment needed to learn how to do that work yourself. And you know, some people are not going to be bothered with this. For some people, it's too much work, it's too much time, it's too much effort, it's too much learning. And I understand that. And I'm not trying to act like anybody that's a fish keeper that doesn't do this is bad in some way or lesser in some way. Believe me, I've been fish keeping for a lot of years. And it was only when I started running into stuff that I could not identify, that the people I knew could not identify, that the books that I studied could not identify, that I became determined to actually do it myself. And of course, I discovered really quickly how helpless you feel when you start seeing all this stuff in a microscope slide and don't know what any of it is. It could all be what's killing your fish, and you can't differentiate between something that's just fine, something that's not just fine but is probably not out of control and killing your fish. You know, it's a mixed bag when you begin to look in a microscope for the first time. And that's why I'm giving you this URL and I'm pointing you towards this channel, and I'm saying that this channel has the potential to teach you what it is that you are seeing in a microscope, so that you learn to recognize an amoeba, so that you learn to recognize these different kinds of creatures that will show up when you start using a microscope and get a handle on changing times. You know, a lot of microscopes are going to have 100 times, 200 times, 400 times, 1,000 times, and maybe 1,500 times. So you've got 5 different magnifications that you can look at the same slide with and get to smaller and smaller and smaller things. And this channel has the opportunity to teach you what magnification will be required to see these different creatures, what they look like, a description of their life cycle and what they do or don't do, how they propagate, how they live. It's just a really wonderful little channel that has just begun. Hey Turbofish, welcome to the stream. This channel's less than a month old, or right at a month old, and it's already got like 120,000 subscribers to it. Because not only is the information wonderful, but actually watching what's going on that screen, that microscope view of microscopic life, is mesmerizing. And in this case, it's mesmerizing in a way that gives you the opportunity and the chance to really learn something about what's going on under the microscope. And it's not a book, it's not some static page or some text description of what you're going to see. And all that information is great, wonderful, and you need it as a companion to something like this. But this little channel has the potential. I don't know that they're going to do it. They may go in some completely different, direction away from what would be helpful to fish keepers. But I can't imagine that they can do very much about the microscopic world that you will begin to see if you purchase and begin to use a microscope and are trying to learn how to use it. That channel is offering you okay, I'm going to try to link. I'm going to try to link again in a different way. See if that one works, Kaylor. That should get you to one of the videos. Maybe you can figure out how to properly link the channel itself. It's called Journey to the Microcosmos. And the videos are about 10 minutes long. And even just with the 4 that I have watched, I have learned stuff that I did not know to begin with about the microcosmos. And I feel like anyone who is trying to expand their horizons as a fish keeper will benefit from learning the stuff that channel has the opportunity to teach. The guy's voice who does the narration is really clear, really calming, and it makes for a really wonderful experience watching the video. It's obvious in this collaboration, one guy is the narrator and one guy does the filming and the information, and it's really remarkable. It's remarkable from the standpoint of learning. It's remarkable from the standpoint of simply viewing it. It's really a nice channel. And particularly for me, AKG Cichlids, welcome to the stream. For me, it offers up a world of information that is not available in books, in a video form. It is not available in text the way it is when it's right there in front of you and someone is describing it with the name of the creature that you're looking at mainly and the magnification that you've got. Hey Haley, welcome to the stream. Yeah, Bob, I just think it is a phenomenal little channel, and it is one which I would highly recommend to anyone that wants to learn more about what's going on in their aquarium, that wants to have a deeper knowledge base. Just watch it for fun. You don't have to have a microscope. You don't have to be a functional microscope user to enjoy this channel, but so far they've done 4 videos, and I've found each one of them interesting in its own way. And while they are helpful to someone who is trying to learn what they were seeing under a microscope, I think it can be even more helpful for hobbyists like us, for people who want to step up their game, step up their fish keeping abilities, to be able to really understand what the terms offwitch, what the terms infusoria really mean. KG's at Five Guys Burger Restaurant eating a burger, fries and peanuts. Yep. The fish life, yes I do. I started doing this over a year ago. For a long time I called it the Bob Stream or the Bob Show because Bob Steenfott quit doing shows on Saturday and said someone needed to step up and take his place, and so I did. And Bob was streaming at about 5 o'clock my time, and I started streaming at about 5 my time and did it for like 6 or 7 months. So if you go back, there's tons of live streams of mine that say the Bob Show across the top of them. And that's what I was doing because Bob said he was going to come back, and he never did. He never came back to Saturday. And so then I started noticing that other people were streaming at that time on Saturday. So I started backing up, getting earlier in the day. And as each one of them has come on, and I've talked to them about it and gotten really no response, to avoid stepping on someone else's toes, I basically have just backed up and backed up and backed up till it's 2:45 in the afternoon that I'm doing. Yeah, Corey and his Pringles in the wild. We had just gotten. We were on our first. We were on the 3-day trip, where it was literally a day and a half of driving to get to where we were going, and then a day and a half of driving to get back. And that was our first real stop. That was where the waterfall was that Corey got behind. Hey Pam, no worries. I knew you guys were doing other stuff. I enjoyed what I got out of the stream. Off to the principal, Pam. Pam, you'll have to go back. I've just tried to get people to look at this new channel, the journey to the microcosmos, and it's microscope related. It's really a wonderful little channel that I've discovered, and 120 something other thousand people have discovered in a month. It's only been up for about a month. And I would definitely recommend, hey Priscilla, welcome to the stream. I would definitely recommend that everyone check the channel out, even if it's not your cup of tea, even if it's something you just do for fun. I would recommend it just for enjoyment. Hey Dan Slee, welcome to the stream. I would recommend it just for enjoyment, if nothing else, because it's relaxing as all get out. You've been talking with Biggs? Haley, what did he tell you? Sitting in the tattoo chair, Priscilla. Are you getting a tattoo of a fish that you drew? Haley, you got a dish. You got to dish information, girl. You can't slash me with something, with a statement like that and then not dish. And Priscilla, does it hurt? I have never gotten a tattoo, and I've always been kind of afraid of tattoos. I always enjoyed the artist Leo Kottke, feeling the burn. He put you in touch with Anton Lammo. That's a name that's really tough to pronounce because of the end. Priscilla, is that a name you recognize? An octopus on your arm. Ooh, that's going to be a big tattoo. I don't envy you, Priscilla. Well, is Anton the one that is going to be shepherding that trip to Southern Africa? The only reason I pointed you there was because he said very clearly Southern Africa, not the Rift Lakes, not the places that almost everyone goes when they go to Africa. Just wait for near the armpit. Yeah, that ought to wake you up. Might be there for a while, like several days. Yes, Pam's lurking. Up in your box springs. I think after speaking with Anton, who's been to several places near Nigeria, the general consensus is that I'm going to add a ton of botanicals to the pond. Aha! See? See? This is why I tell you to network to people. He's not going near where I need to go. And even Anton said he has not been to Nigeria because of the logistics issue. So I'm still on my own for the trip. Yeah, but you're learning. You're learning, Haley. You're making connections. If Anton hears of someone going to Nigeria, and he may be the person that would hear, and that person that's saying they're going to Nigeria is wanting someone to go with them if possible, you may suddenly find yourself in a group of very intensely wonderful scientific people that are more than willing. Anton is going to get me some pictures of the shallow areas he has been to. See? Way to go, Haley. Way to reach out and make connections. Way to network. Way to find people that are in the realm that you are looking for, and and making connections with them, because this is how you are going to get yourself to Africa. Ah, don't listen to me. I'm just an old fuddy-duddy. But do go check out this channel. Even though I'm an old fuddy-duddy, I want you to go check that channel out, and if nothing else, enjoy. And earlier in the video, I also started talking about how cheap functional microscopes are beginning to be. You can buy an origami folding microscope that will do at least 200x and fit in your shirt pocket for less than $10 now. Now you have to put the thing together. It comes in a kit and you have to put the thing together, but you could carry something like that to Africa with you in your pocket. And I just want people to understand that it is becoming more and more available to hobbyists to not have to spend $1,000 to get a functional microscope anymore. You can spend 50 bucks and get something that will give you 1200x, that has lights, that has a camera on it, that you can plug into your computer or plug into your phone and view whatever you would like. And of course there are lots of slides that are prepared that you can buy that will show you different kinds of things. But it is becoming more and more available. Yeah, please check it out. I don't care if you drop my video right now and go spend the next hour watching the 4 videos that they have up. I would recommend that you do that, because it is that remarkable, it is that well done, and it is that packed with information, and you need to watch these videos with a fish keeper's eye, and you will learn things that aren't really even in the video for most people to absorb, but just by watching what's going on and putting 2 and 2 together, plugging this bit of information into the bit of information that we have about functional off-witch in our tanks, functional malm in our tanks, functional algae in our tanks. If you plug in what you're watching on that screen and being told about into what we already know as hobbyists, you are opening up a whole new area of exploration, of beginning to understand what's really going on in your tank, of being able to begin to understand what's really going on with your fish. You know, we look at stuff and we say, oh, it's this, or oh, it's that. But I'm telling you that when you are a functional microscope user, you change the game exponentially, and you can take a scraping or a gill clipping or an autopsy liver or an autopsy heart and make a slide out of that and put that under a microscope and stain it in some proper way that will give you the proper visual ability to see what it is that you're looking for or at, and you will no longer be helpless when it comes to What's wrong with my fish? I can't tell from the outside what it is. I can't tell from the behaviors. I added a fish that I got at a store and I didn't quarantine it, and now all my fish are dying and I don't know what it is. It's nothing that I'm familiar with. Well, this is the answer to that situation. But it's not an immediate answer. It's not something that you are going to instantly be able to understand what's going on. It's going to require a certain amount of investment and study on your part. And believe me, there's people that have spent their whole lives doing it, and they might not even be able to tell you what's going on. But you will be that much closer to being able to figure out what it is that may be affecting your fish. And Priscilla's right. Sometimes the answer is the learning process. People, this is a hobby that we're in because we love it, because we haven't been keeping fish for 50 years or 10 years or 5 years because it's just something to do, and it's just something that we've got money and we like to show off a big pretty tank. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. If you have someone come into your multi-million-dollar mansion and set up a giant salt tank and come in every week and do service on it, you still get the pleasure of showing off that tank, and you still get the pleasure of actually watching what goes on in that tank. So this is not about someone's better than someone else. Someone is a better fish keeper than someone else in the manner of now you can look down on everyone else because you wear London fog and they don't. That's not what I'm trying to get at here. What I'm trying to say is that you can change the game as far as your skill as a fish keeper by learning this, by spending a little, and I really mean a little money. You can get an excellent microscope with a 3 megapixel camera in it for $50 that goes up to 1,200 times, and that will allow you to easily watch what you're seeing on the screen. It will allow you to go deep enough into the actual slide itself with the higher magnification to see a whole lot of other stuff, you know, much smaller than the amoebas and the things you see at 200 or 600 times. I just really feel like for those of you that want to step up your game, and I wish before I went to Peru, where these pictures are from, that I had the wherewithal and the intelligence and the learning, the background, to bring a microscope with me so that I could see what was really going on in the wild in Peru through slides and scrapings and autopsies even. And I would have learned a lot about the parasites that we brought back with them. Bob's asking how much an octopus costs for Pam. You gonna pay for Pam to have an octopus put on her arm, Bob? Tattoos are highly expensive anymore. I bet it's $1,500 Priscilla. 1,500 for a well done octopus. Because an octopus is going to have a lot of coloration in it too. It's going to have a lot of shading, a lot of detail, a lot of line work. If it's well done. I'm glad you're using me to distract you from your tattoo. Priscilla. The art of fish keeping. That is cool, Punchy. Bam. All right, guys. It is blazing hot here. Let's see what the temperature is. It's 96 here right now. And I'm betting that it was close to 100 today here. And I know that a great portion of the Midwest and the right on up to the northern seaboard 800, huh? I bet Priscilla knows the tattoo artist. Depends on the size and all that. Shoo. 250 for just the outlines. Well, Priscilla, you got pens at home. You're a heck of an artist. Just use indelible ink and draw it in yourself. Get a mirror, sit down, do everything in reverse. Anyway, I hope you guys are managing to find a way to stay cool if you're in the middle of this heat wave pocket. 120 an hour. I bet Priscilla could draw a hell of a tattoo. It might be tough to do it on herself, especially if it's the arm she uses to draw with, but I bet she could. I hope you guys are managing to stay cool. I hope you're managing to keep your fish cool. Super hot temperatures in a fish tank all of a sudden, if you have an air conditioner that breaks down on you, or you're not there to turn it on and keep it cool, you can lose a lot of fish with high temps. 800-ish by the time done. Yee. I bet a stomach tattoo hurts too. Yeah, no, I won't tattoo myself. Well, but you could draw the artwork, Priscilla. They draw that artwork on those transfer pages, and then put the lines on with the transfer pages. You could do that. All right, one more time. I'm popping this URL up. For those of you that have watched this video again, not live, the first couple of URLs that I left for this channel Journey to the Microcosmos, I would really recommend it, and that functional link that I left does get you to one of the videos, and you can get to the main channel from there. There are only 4 videos up. The channel's only like a month old. I'm sorry for your loss, Dan. And I guess a memorial tattoo is a really wonderful way to remember somebody. I've just always been scared to death of tattoos, the idea of a tattoo. Um, I was going to talk about earlier the artist Leo Kotke has has a little dot where his thumb and forefinger come together. You can see that where I'm holding it up. I guess I'm not holding it quite high. There we go. He's got a little dot right there. And on his first album, there is a song called Blue Dot. And it's about him starting to get a Mexican tattoo. And he chickens out. And all he's got to show for it is that little blue dot. And that's the story behind that song. And it's a remarkable song. Anyone who doesn't know Leo Kotke, 6 and 12 string guitar, is missing out on a wonderful, remarkable artist that sounds like 4 or 5 people playing all at once and has a very offbeat style, very offbeat tempo, very offbeat view on the world around him and how he perceives it musically, how he expresses it musically. I highly recommend Leo Kotke as an eccentric artist that I don't really know how to describe him. I don't think that you can put him in a genre of any sort. Here, let's give you let's give you a URL. And you can go find out about him yourself. I think that'll work. 6 and 12 string guitar is his first album, and I have a copy of it that I've nearly worn out. And once again, that's not the Journey to the Microcosmos, which I mostly recommend for fish keepers, but that is what I recommend for music lovers, people that love artists that express things in their own way. He doesn't have a lot of he has no real amplification. He has no tricks other than just pure skill. And you will find him playing with artists like Doc Watson. A lot of female singers have worked with Leo Kotke. Just a remarkable artist. And while I would consider him a modern, somewhat rock, I think many more people would say classical guitarist of an otherworldly style that is not like anyone else. And so I would highly recommend him to people that love music that is not the norm. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of your way. I hope the heck that you spend the next hour visiting Journey to the Microcosmos and learning about stuff that's in our fish tank that we can't see, that we know about, but we don't really understand. We don't have a concept of. Yes, people, stay out of this heat if you can help it, and keep your fish cool too. Thank you, Pam. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good rest of the weekend, and I hope all goes well.